Imagine a commander, his legions outnumbered 10-1, trapped in enemy territory, staring down not one, but two overwhelming armies. The very definition of an impossible dilemma. This was no mere fantasy. In the heart of ancient Gaul, 52 BC, Julius Caesar faced such an unimaginable nightmare at the hill fort of Alesia. His audacious ambition led him there, but fate decreed a brutal twist. Caesar became both the besieger and, astonishingly, the besieged. Pinned between the formidable walls of Alesia and a vast coalescing Gallic horde, his position seemed utterly hopeless, a certain death trap. Outside, an estimated 250,000 free Gallic warriors, a colossal relief army, converged with a singular purpose: to crush Caesar's beleaguered forces. Inside Alesia, the brilliant Vercingetorix commanded his own defiant legions, ready to unleash a simultaneous, devastating breakout attack. The stakes were immeasurable. This wasn't just another battle. It was the ultimate gamble for the destiny of Rome, and indeed, Western civilization itself. Had Caesar failed, Gaul would have remained free, and the nascent Roman Empire might have crumbled before it ever reached its zenith. Alesia became a crucible where military genius, human endurance, and the raw courage of men would be tested to their absolute limits. How could one man, with perhaps 50,000 weary legionaries, not only hold his ground, but orchestrate victory against such overwhelming odds? Historical records and expert analysis confirm the unprecedented scale of the fortifications Caesar ordered. A double circumvallation stretching miles. This engineering marvel, a testament to Roman ingenuity, turned his vulnerable position into an impregnable fortress against two advancing armies. Yet, beyond the impressive strategy, lay the fierce determination of soldiers, both Roman and Gallic, fighting for their lives, their beliefs, their homelands. Alesia transcends a simple military engagement. It is a masterclass in strategic desperation, a pivotal moment that reshaped the ancient world irrevocably. In this series, we will meticulously dissect Caesar's extraordinary plans, the heroism, the brutality, and the sheer audacity of this impossible siege. Join us as we journey back to witness how Julius Caesar defied annihilation, forever carving his name into the annals of military legend. Before Caesar, Gaul was a vast, fertile land, home to countless independent Celtic tribes, rich in resources and ripe for conquest in the eyes of an ambitious Roman general. Julius Caesar, driven by a thirst for glory, political power, and the desperate need for military victories to fund his ascent, saw Gaul as his personal theatre of triumph. The Gauls, though sharing a common cultural heritage, were perpetually divided by intertribal rivalries, ancient feuds, and a lack of unified political structure. Rome's cunning strategy exploited these divisions, often allying with one tribe against another, systematically dismantling Gallic resistance piecemeal. Caesar's campaigns were brutal and swift, extending Roman dominion across vast swathes of territory, bringing powerful tribes like the Helvetii and Belgae to heel. The legions, disciplined and technologically superior, seemed an unstoppable force, their methodical advance leaving a trail of subjugated lands and shattered dreams. The Roman presence was transformative. Taxes, Roman law, and military garrisons imposed a foreign yoke upon a people fiercely proud of their autonomy. Beneath the surface of Roman enforced peace, a deep, seething resentment simmered, fueled by cultural oppression and the relentless erosion of Gallic identity. Sporadic, localized rebellions did erupt, born of frustration and despair. But these isolated acts of defiance were easily crushed by Caesar's disciplined legions. The Roman response was predictably harsh, meant to instill terror and deter future insurrections, often involving mass executions and enslavement. The cost of resistance was immense, draining Gallic manpower and resources, pushing many tribes to the brink of utter devastation. This relentless pressure, however, paradoxically began to forge a new understanding. Fragmented resistance was futile. Unity was their only hope for survival. The ancient tribal animosities, once their greatest weakness, now seemed a luxury Gaul could no longer afford in the face of Roman subjugation. Yet, overcoming centuries of deep-seated distrust and political maneuvering among the chieftains remained an almost insurmountable challenge. Who among them possessed the vision, the charisma, and the strategic acumen to bridge these divides and rally Gaul under a single banner? Into this crucible of despair and desperate longing for freedom stepped Vercingetorix, a chieftain of the powerful Arverni tribe, destined to become Rome's greatest adversary. Initially, he seized power within his own Arverni by force, deposing chieftains who favored Roman alliance or inaction, signaling his unwavering resolve. Vercingetorix possessed a rare blend of military brilliance, strategic foresight, and an electrifying oratorical skill that ignited the hearts of his countrymen. His vision was clear, not merely to repel the Romans, but to forge a new, independent Gaul, united and strong enough to dictate its own destiny. Yet, his audacious plan for a unified revolt met with initial skepticism. Many chieftains, weary of war, doubted such an ambitious coalition could ever truly hold. Through tireless diplomacy, compelling arguments, and swift, decisive military action against Roman sympathizers, he steadily gathered allies from across Gaul. He promised them not just battle, but liberation, a chance to reclaim their ancestral lands and traditions from the clutches of the relentless Roman war machine. What began as scattered resistance now transformed into a full-fledged national movement, a desperate last-ditch effort for Gallic freedom. Vercingetorix unveiled a daring, brutal strategy, scorched earth, aimed at denying Caesar's legions any supplies or foraging opportunities as they advanced. Villages and fields were burned, supplies destroyed, forcing the Roman army to rely on increasingly long and vulnerable supply lines, stretching their resources thin. This strategy, though devastating to his own people, proved remarkably effective in disrupting Roman logistics and slowing their seemingly inexorable march. It was a heart-wrenching choice, sacrificing immediate comfort and safety for the ultimate prize of freedom. A testament to Gallic resilience. Vercingetorix understood that pitched battles against legionaries were suicidal. Instead, he favored guerrilla tactics, ambushes, and swift cavalry raids. These early engagements saw surprising Gallic successes, boosting morale and further cementing Vercingetorix's reputation as a military genius among his people. Caesar, initially dismissive of this barbarian rebellion, soon realized he faced an opponent unlike any he had encountered in his lengthy Gallic campaigns. The meticulous historical records from Caesar himself confirm his growing concern, acknowledging the dangerous rise of this unified Gallic resistance. The forging of this grand coalition was a masterclass in political maneuvering, requiring Vercingetorix to overcome generations of animosity. He employed a delicate balance of diplomacy, military prowess, and, when necessary, swift coercion to bind the disparate tribes together. In a powerful display of unity, many Gallic chieftains swore sacred oaths to Vercingetorix, pledging their lives and their warriors to the common cause. Vercingetorix became more than a leader. He was the living embodiment of Gallic pride, a defiant symbol against Roman imperial ambitions. His intelligence networks were formidable, providing him with crucial insights into Roman troop movements and supply convoys, often surprising Caesar. The Gallic army swelled to unprecedented numbers, a massive force united by a shared burning desire for freedom, ready for the ultimate confrontation. Caesar found himself in an unenviable position, facing a unified, formidable enemy that challenged his previous strategic assumptions about Gaul. The psychological impact of a truly unified Gallic front rattled Roman confidence, suggesting that Caesar's conquest was far from complete. Vercingetorix understood the importance of strategic locations, denying Rome secure bases and disrupting their lines of communication. He began to actively push back, besieging Roman garrisons and reclaiming territory. forcing Caesar into a reactive rather than proactive posture. The Gallic cavalry harried Caesar's legions relentlessly, refusing them respite, forcing them towards a decisive battle on ground of Vercingetorix's choosing. Both commanders were now taking calculated risks, each seeking the decisive engagement that would either secure freedom or solidify Roman dominance. The stage was set, the forces converging for a showdown that would determine the fate of Gaul and forever etch its place in the annals of history. And so, the greatest rebellion Caesar had ever faced, a culmination of Gallic fury and Vercingetorix's genius, led inexorably to the fortified hill of Alesia. With Vercingetorix's legions funneled into Alesia, Caesar faced not merely a battle, but a strategic dilemma of monumental proportions. The Gallic chieftain, though trapped, commanded a formidable host within the hill fort's seemingly impregnable walls. A direct assault would have been suicidal, costing untold Roman lives against prepared defenses. Caesar, the master strategist, knew a different approach was required. His decision was as audacious as it was brilliant. He would not storm Alesia, but starve it. He would build an iron cage around Vercingetorix. This was not a passive blockade. It was an active, aggressive encirclement designed to cripple the enemy without engaging in a costly direct confrontation. The scale of what Caesar envisioned was staggering, a testament to his ambition and Roman engineering might. He ordered the construction of a massive circumvallation. This inner ring of fortifications, known as the conquest, was designed to absolutely prevent any escape by Vercingetorix's trapped forces. It would also serve to protect the besieging Roman legions from any desperate sallies made by the Gauls within Alesia's walls. The blueprint for this colossal project spanned an incredible 11 Roman miles, encircling the entire plateau of Alesia. Roman ingenuity, honed through centuries of warfare and construction, was about to be unleashed with unprecedented ferocity. Legions, accustomed to battlefield maneuvers, swiftly transformed into an army of engineers, lumberjacks, and ditch diggers. The first line of defense consisted of 2 parallel ditches, each 15 feet wide and equally deep, formidable obstacles in themselves. One of these trenches was ingeniously designed to be filled with water, creating an instant, impassable moat around the entire perimeter. Behind these initial ditches rose a formidable rampart, 12 feet high, topped with a sturdy palisade of sharpened stakes. Along the rampart, watchtowers were strategically integrated at 80-foot intervals, providing elevated vantage points for Roman archers and slingers. Further strengthening this defensive line, redoubts, small fortified strongpoints, were constructed at regular intervals, offering additional defensive positions. But Caesar's genius extended beyond conventional fortifications. He introduced a series of insidious ground traps to further deter any breakout attempts. The stimuli, hidden wooden stakes protruding from shallow pits, were designed to maim any attacking soldier who stumbled upon them. Then came the lilies, rows of deep pits, each housing sharpened wooden stakes, camouflaged with brush, awaiting unwary feet. Finally, the sipi, tree stumps with sharpened branches, planted firmly in the ground, formed a dense, brutal anti-personnel field. These multiple layers of defense were specifically engineered to break the morale and bodies of any Gallic warrior attempting a desperate sally from Alesia. The relentless pace of Roman construction was inhuman. A symphony of axes, shovels, and hammers echoing across the Gallic landscape. The logistical challenge was immense, requiring the constant supply of timber, tools, food, and water for tens of thousands of legionaries. Every Roman soldier became a multifaceted laborer, contributing to a monumental feat of engineering that defied the imagination. From their besieged hill fort, Vercingetorix's Gauls watched in growing horror as this iron grip materialized before their very eyes. The realization of their predicament, trapped by a relentless and efficient enemy, must have been a crushing blow to Gallic morale. Vercingetorix undoubtedly launched attempts to disrupt the construction, but Roman discipline and overwhelming force repelled every effort. Roman cavalry units patrolled the periphery constantly, providing an agile screen against any external interference or internal breakout. The legionaries toiled with a grim determination, fueled by their unwavering loyalty to Caesar and the promise of ultimate victory. Caesar himself was omnipresent, riding amongst his troops, inspecting every detail, his stern gaze an ever-present reminder of their purpose. His inspiring leadership galvanized his legions, extracting an unparalleled effort from men pushed to their physical and mental limits. Slowly, but with an unstoppable momentum, the inner circumvallation neared completion, a testament to human will and engineering brilliance. It was more than just a wall. It was a psychological weapon, a declaration of Roman invincibility etched into the very earth. This formidable ring now completely isolated Vercingetorix and his forces, setting the stage for the next, even more audacious, phase of Caesar's plan. Then, from the vast horizon, a new horror materialized for Caesar's beleaguered legions. A distant rumble grew into a terrifying crescendo, and suddenly the landscape shimmered with an unimaginable host. It was the great Gallic relief army, a staggering force of 250,000 warriors, finally arriving to break the siege and crush the Roman invaders. Their sheer numbers defied belief, stretching for miles, a human tide surging towards Alesia with a singular, ferocious intent. For the starving Gauls trapped within the town, this was a beacon of desperate hope, a sign that liberation was at hand. But for the Romans, this was the ultimate nightmare. Their siege now transformed into a terrifying entrapment, their fate sealed in a deadly vice. The carefully constructed circumvallation, designed to starve Alesia, became a cage for Caesar's own men. The strategic landscape had shifted irrevocably, presenting a challenge unparalleled in ancient warfare. The Romans were now both besiegers and besieged. Caesar, however, remained unwavering, his gaze fixed on the approaching storm, already formulating a response of audacious brilliance. His decision was immediate and breathtaking. He would construct a second, outer ring of fortifications. This new line, known as the contravallation, would face outward, a formidable barrier against the colossal Gallic relief army. It was an act of incredible defiance, building a fortress around his existing fortress, transforming Alesia into a double siege unique in history. This secondary defensive perimeter stretched an astonishing 14 miles, an engineering marvel born of dire necessity and strategic genius. Legionaries, already exhausted from the inner siege works, were now tasked with an even more demanding and critical construction effort. They toiled ceaselessly, digging colossal trenches, erecting formidable ramparts, and weaving intricate networks of traps and obstacles. Caesar meticulously designed these outer defenses, incorporating towers, palisades, and sharpened stakes known as stimuli and cipi. Each element was strategically placed, designed to channel, slow, and break the momentum of the overwhelming Gallic charges. This vast undertaking showcased the unparalleled discipline and engineering prowess of the Roman legions under extreme duress. The sheer audacity of fighting two immense armies simultaneously, one within and one without, cemented Caesar's legend as a master strategist. He placed his trust not just in the strength of his men, but in the immutable logic of superior fortifications and tactical positioning. This fortress within a fortress was not merely a physical barrier. It was a testament to Roman ingenuity and an unyielding will to prevail. Every shovelful of earth, every timber raised, became a declaration of Rome's intent to dominate, even in the face of impossible odds. The psychological pressure on the Romans was immense, caught between the desperate sorties from Alesia and the relentless assaults from the relief army. Their supplies dwindled, the constant threat of attack wore down their spirits, and the sheer isolation deepened their resolve. Vercingetorix, observing the growing outer wall, understood Caesar's gambit. The Roman legions were fighting for their very survival. The relief army, though vast, now faced an unexpected fortified obstacle, forcing them into costly frontal assaults against prepared defenses. Caesar had gambled everything on this unprecedented defensive strategy, the fate of his legions and the conquest of Gaul hanging by a thread. His personal presence, moving among the troops, inspiring, directing, and sharing their hardships, reinforced their unshakable loyalty. The Romans were not merely building walls. They were building a desperate hope, a bastion against annihilation. This intricate double siege system transformed the rolling Gallic plains around Alesia into a deadly, inescapable arena. Here, in this crucible of steel and blood, the ultimate test of wills, strategy, and sheer endurance would unfold. Alesia would soon become the stage for one of history's most dramatic and decisive military confrontations. AI-generated placeholder. This section needs to be expanded to meet the outline's length requirement. Please add 2 more paragraphs of content here. AI-generated placeholder. This section needs to be expanded to meet the outline's length requirement. Please add 1 more paragraphs of content here. As the siege wore on, the once proud Gallic defenders, trapped within Alesia, faced an enemy more insidious than Roman steel: the gnawing agony of starvation. Provisions dwindled, hope flickered, and the desperate cries of their women and children echoed through the besieged stronghold. Vercingetorix, witnessing his people suffering, knew his only option was a desperate, all-or-nothing gamble. He ordered a sally, a forlorn hope to breach the inner Roman circumvallation and secure a pathway to salvation. His gaunt warriors, driven by fury and a primal will to survive, launched themselves at Caesar's meticulously constructed defenses. Their desperate charge was met with overwhelming Roman discipline and formidable engineering. Against palisades, trenches, and hidden traps, the starving Gauls threw their last ounce of strength. The struggle was fierce, hand-to-hand combat erupting in chaotic bursts of violence, but the Roman lines held firm. Their attempts to break out were repelled with brutal efficiency. Each failed, Sally chipped away at their already fragile morale, leaving behind more fallen comrades and an even deeper sense of despair. Yet, a new hope stirred on the horizon, a distant rumble that promised salvation. Over 250,000 Gallic warriors, a colossal relief force gathered from across Gaul, arrived to challenge Caesar's iron grip. Led by formidable chieftains, this massive army descended upon Alesia, their war cries a deafening roar meant to shatter Roman resolve. Their objective was clear: obliterate Caesar's outer fortifications and liberate Vercingetorix. Caesar now faced the ultimate test, trapped between 2 overwhelming Gallic armies, one starving within, one roaring outside. His genius for military strategy would be pushed to its absolute limits. The relief force launched its first major assault, a coordinated wave of human might crashing against the Roman contravallation. They targeted perceived weak points, attempting to overwhelm the defenders through sheer numbers. Under a hail of javelins and arrows, thousands of Gauls swarmed the Roman earthworks. The air was thick with the clash of steel, the screams of men, and the desperate struggle for every inch of ground. Roman legionaries, outnumbered but resolute, fought with the discipline for which they were renowned. Each man held his position, knowing that the collapse of any section meant catastrophe for the entire army. Caesar, observing from a vantage point, meticulously directed his reserves. His presence was a beacon of calm amidst the storm, his commands precise and unwavering, bolstering his soldiers' courage. The fighting raged for hours, a brutal ballet of attack and defense. The Gauls, emboldened by their numbers, pressed relentlessly, while the Romans, facing certain doom if they faltered, fought with grim determination. As the sun began to set, the first assault faltered, then receded, leaving behind a horrific tableau of carnage. The Roman walls, though scarred, still stood, a testament to their unyielding will. But the Gauls were not broken. Their leaders, recognizing the urgency of their mission, planned an even more audacious, coordinated offensive for the next day, hoping to catch the Romans exhausted. They identified a crucial weakness: a section of the outer Roman defenses built on a slope, more challenging to fortify and potentially vulnerable to a concentrated charge. This became their primary target. At dawn, a simultaneous two-pronged attack began. Vercingetorix's men, fueled by a last surge of adrenaline and desperation, sallied forth once more from within Alesia. Outside, the relief force launched its most devastating assault, aiming directly for the vulnerable slope. Led by powerful Gallic cavalry, their charge was a tsunami of men and horses. The Roman lines on the slope began to buckle under the immense pressure. The sheer weight of the Gallic numbers threatened to overwhelm the defenders, pushing them dangerously close to collapse. Panic began to spread among some Roman auxiliaries. It was a moment of supreme crisis, a knife edge on which the fate of the entire Gallic wars, and indeed Caesar's destiny, hung precariously. This was when Caesar's personal leadership became paramount. He galloped to the front lines, his scarlet cloak a rallying point, his voice cutting through the din of battle, inspiring his men. He brought up fresh cohorts, personally leading them into the most desperate sections of the battle. His unwavering resolve infused his exhausted soldiers with renewed strength and a fierce determination. "We fight for Rome," his centurions roared, echoing Caesar's spirit. The legionaries, seeing their general risking his life alongside them, fought with an almost superhuman ferocity. Meanwhile, a small contingent of Roman cavalry, under the command of Labienus, executed a daring flanking maneuver, striking the Gallic relief force from an unexpected direction. This sudden attack, combined with Caesar's direct intervention on the slope, created a moment of confusion and disarray within the massive Gallic ranks. The tide began to subtly turn. As the relief force wavered, Vercingetorix's internal sally, though fierce, failed to make significant headway against the inner Roman walls, its purpose thwarted by the outer chaos. The Gallic relief force, their massive assault losing momentum, found themselves caught between the resolute Roman defenses and the unexpected cavalry charge. Their sheer numbers became a liability. What had begun as a coordinated, overwhelming attack dissolved into fragmented struggles. The sheer scale of the Gallic force, once their greatest asset, now hindered their retreat. Caesar, recognizing this pivotal moment, ordered a full counterattack, a devastating push that sent the reeling Gallic relief army into a full panicked rout. The turning point had arrived. The colossal Gallic relief force, for all its immense power and valiant effort, was utterly broken. The encirclement of Alesia remained unbreached. Their flight was a chaotic stampede, pursued relentlessly by the Roman cavalry. The dream of freeing Vercingetorix, and with it the hope for a free Gaul, was shattered into a million pieces. Within Alesia, Vercingetorix and his starving warriors watched the horrific spectacle unfold. Their last, desperate hope had been extinguished on the fields outside, leaving only a bitter silence. AI-generated placeholder. This section needs to be expanded to meet the outline's length requirement. Please add one more paragraph of content here. As the dust settled on the fields of Alesia, a chilling silence descended, replacing the cacophony of war with the grim reality of defeat. For the starving Gauls within the fortress, the promise of relief had vanished, replaced by an agonizing recognition of their shattered hopes. Vercingetorix, embodying the last embers of Gallic defiance, made a heartbreaking decision: to surrender, not out of cowardice, but as a final act of leadership to spare his people from utter annihilation. His appearance before Julius Caesar was an image etched into historical memory, a poignant tableau of a vanquished king kneeling before his triumphant conqueror. He rode out, clad in his finest armor, circling Caesar's tribunal, before dismounting and laying down his arms at the Roman general's feet. A moment heavy with the weight of destiny. Caesar, ever the calculating politician, offered no magnanimity. Vercingetorix was immediately imprisoned, a stark symbol of Gaul's broken spirit and the ruthless efficiency of Roman power. For the vast multitude of Gallic warriors trapped within Alesia, their fate was brutally clear. Many faced enslavement, a grim testament to the economic spoils of Roman conquest. Those who belonged to tribes that had directly participated in the rebellion met an even harsher destiny, often executed or branded as a warning to any future insurgents. The once proud Gallic nations now confronted the full, indomitable force of Roman imperial expansion, their tribal structures and ancient ways destined to be fundamentally transformed. Alesia marked the definitive end of organized, widespread Gallic resistance to Roman dominion, though localized skirmishes and unrest would persist for years. The Roman legions, having secured victory, embarked on a systematic consolidation of their newfound territory, laying the groundwork for centuries of Roman rule. Roman administrative structures, tax systems, and legal frameworks were meticulously imposed, integrating Gaul firmly into the sprawling Roman Republic's vast empire. The dream of an independent Gallic confederation, bravely championed by Vercingetorix, was extinguished, replaced by a new era under the inescapable shadow of the Eagle Standard. Perhaps the most profound long-term impact was upon Gallic culture itself, which began a slow, inexorable process of Romanization that would redefine its very identity. Latin became the language of administration, commerce, and ultimately a significant portion of the population, gradually supplanting the ancient Celtic tongues. Roman gods mingled with Celtic deities, new architectural styles transformed Gallic settlements, and Roman customs permeated daily life, fostering a unique Gallo-Roman synthesis. The powerful influence of the Druids, once the spiritual and intellectual backbone of Gallic society, waned dramatically under Roman suppression, diminishing their political and religious authority. From these ashes emerged a hybrid culture, vibrant and resilient, yet forever marked by the decisive events that unfolded on the blood-soaked hills surrounding Alesia. The historical legacy is evident even today, as the linguistic, legal, and cultural foundations of modern France bear indelible imprints of its Roman heritage. Beyond Gaul, Alesia's victory dramatically reshaped the volatile political landscape of Rome, setting in motion events that would irrevocably alter the Republic's destiny. Caesar returned to Rome, an unparalleled hero, his military genius and audacious conquest of Gaul earning him immense prestige and the unwavering loyalty of battle-hardened legions. The vast wealth plundered from Gaul filled Caesar's coffers, providing him with the financial resources necessary to reward his soldiers and build powerful political alliances. His legions, forged in the crucible of Gallic warfare, were utterly devoted to him, seeing in Caesar not just a general, but a figure of almost mythical stature. However, Caesar's burgeoning power and popularity also bred intense jealousy and fear among the aristocratic Senate, who saw their ancient traditions and authority threatened. Pompey the Great, once Caesar's ally in the First Triumvirate, increasingly viewed his former partner as an existential threat to his own influence and the Republic's balance of power. Alesia, therefore, was not merely the end of Gallic freedom. It was a powerful catalyst, propelling Caesar inexorably towards his fateful confrontation with the Senate and Pompey. This pivotal victory provided the crucial leverage and military might that would enable Caesar to defy the Senate and cross the Rubicon, plunging Rome into civil war. His ultimate triumph in that conflict and his subsequent ascent to dictatorial power were undeniably rooted in the immense military and political capital amassed during the Gallic Wars. From a purely strategic standpoint, Alesia remains an unparalleled masterclass in siege warfare, offering invaluable lessons to military strategists throughout history. Caesar's ingenious double circumvallation, simultaneously besieging a fortress and defending against a relief army, stands as a testament to audacious engineering and tactical brilliance. The campaign underscored the paramount importance of logistics, supply lines, and the ability to sustain a large fighting force under extreme pressure for extended periods. Furthermore, Caesar's inspirational leadership, psychological warfare against both besieged and besiegers, and the sheer discipline of his legions proved decisive. Alesia's complex fortifications, intricate battle plans, and the unprecedented scale of the engagement continue to be dissected by military analysts worldwide as a blueprint for success. It is a somber reminder of the immense human cost of empires, where the heroism of one side inevitably means the subjugation and suffering of another. This epoch-defining battle forever solidified Rome's dominance, showcasing an indomitable will and military prowess that would shape the course of Western civilization for centuries. AI-generated placeholder. This section needs to be expanded to meet the outline's length requirement. Please add one more paragraphs of content here. Alesia stands as an unparalleled testament to military ingenuity, a siege that reshaped the ancient world and solidified an empire. Caesar's daring double encirclement, defending against both an internal and external foe, remains a masterclass in strategic execution and battlefield audacity. This victory solidified his legendary status, transforming him from a brilliant general into an indispensable, almost mythical figure in Roman politics and ambition. It marked the definitive end of organized Gallic resistance, paving the way for Rome's undisputed dominion over a vast and rich new province. Gaul, forever changed, would integrate into the Roman Empire, profoundly influencing its cultural, economic, and political trajectory for centuries. Indeed, the enduring legacy of Alesia echoed across continents, laying foundations that continue to resonate in the very fabric of modern Europe. Beyond the strategic brilliance, Alesia was a crucible of human will, showcasing immense sacrifice and unimaginable fortitude from both Roman and Gallic forces. It remains a potent reminder for military analysts of how decisive leadership, combined with disciplined legions, can overcome seemingly insurmountable odds. We invite you now to delve deeper into these epic sagas. Share your thoughts on Alesia and its immense historical significance in the comments below. Join our community of history enthusiasts by subscribing to a leading analysis channel for more cinematic historical documentaries and expert insights.